Hi guys. So, I feel like I hate to lay in my bathroom. Like I really do. It's so uneven. I wonder if I move my camera like to a different like maybe position. I don't know. I don't really need my mirror, so I can like kind of maybe put it here. You can just look at my shower curtain. So I don't know how well you can hear me from that much of a distance. I still have all my hair dye stuff out. But I wanted to talk about something. Don't mind me. I lost my nail when I was doing a photography shoot for a wedding for my in-laws wedding, and look, it like bleed with my fingernail off. See that? So I'm not touching that till I go to the salon because that shit fucking hurt, and it still does hurt. So it's August. Hi, happy August. Not really, because that just means it's going to be cold soon, and I am 1 month away from having to move, and I am not really anywhere closer other than the fact that I got a fantastic, way better. My friend actually is my realtor and he's helping me out. So I think we might be hopefully okay. Yeah, I haven't heard back from him yet today. We're supposed to be meeting later, so I don't know. But as is, it is August. You know, August means for us coasters, right? That means it's hurricane season. Yay! It's the season we wait all year for. Wait, and next to the like blizzard season, which is like February and like January, like yeah, we have it so good on the coast up here. And I'm talking about the Northeast. I'm not even talking about the down south coast. Like down south just has to worry about like the hurricanes. We have to worry about hurricanes and well, yeah, tornadoes sometimes, and winter stuff. So like we don't have it easy. I don't know why anybody wants to pay so much to live in New York. It's beyond me. So I'm gonna explain something. There's always been this kind of argument between like northerners and southerners when it comes to hurricanes, and the reason is because us northerners aren't used to getting hurricanes. We don't usually get them, and the northerners or the southerners get them definitely a lot worse. I'm not dismissing that at all. You do, for a fact. But the same argument goes for, like, say when you guys get your snowstorms, your 2 inches of snow, and you freak out over that. For us, that's nothing. I mean, we get, like, fucking 6 feet of snow, and it's like, school, work, nothing stops us in snow. So, I just want to, like, kind of not debunk this argument so much, because it's never going to be debunked, because we were always going to argue over it no matter what. And I have family down south, I have friends down south that I constantly am arguing with, and I see it all the time. Plus my husband used to live in North Carolina, so like even with him it's like, oh, it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal. Like he doesn't get it. Like for me it is, like, because I'm not used to this stuff. But alright, so here's the thing. August to like September, October-ish, it's like hurricane season, okay? It's considered hurricane season. When the hurricanes start to brew up, start to brew like a hot pot of coffee, and they start to wreak havoc on the coast, especially the East Coast. I don't see it so much on the West as I see on the East. It's definitely on our coast. More so down south. Florida gets it the worst. Bahamas down there, they get it the freaking worst, and I pray for them. I'm sorry for them and all the pain and craziness that these guys have to go through and endure every day. Like I don't, or all the time, every time we have a hurricane threat. And then it always slowly makes its way up the coast. Now, I'm gonna kind of give everybody a little bit of a science lesson. That is one thing I am kind of smart at, is science. Yes, I'm kind of smart at science. Believe it or not, I am actually a science major. So, haha, to you people who think I'm not smart at science, I'm definitely smart at science. So, let's do this. Alright, so, how can I explain this for people who don't understand? Hurricanes. Alright, we're going to use this terminology. I think is the best way. Alright, so, as you know, and I hope as you know, the waters, alright, the Atlantic Ocean starts, you know, obviously the Atlantic Ocean is infinity. But honestly, you know, obviously, the more south you go, not hotter and warmer, I should say hotter. The water is never hot, trust me. It's always warmer. The warmer the water is, and the more north you go, obviously the cooler the water is, right? That is basic known fact. Hurricanes thrive off of ocean water, salt water, okay? They thrive off salt water. They need salt water to maintain strength, to build strength, and to grow. Now, if they don't, it's kind of like watering a plant. Like, plants need water to grow. We need water to grow. We need food to grow, and, you know, stuff like more babies and things like that, you know? Like, so that's basically like hurricanes, like the same thing. But I'm going to use this terminology I think is the best. Okay, so picture down south. Picture Florida as like, picture the water in Florida as like this big, just spill of gasoline. Just horrible gasoline leak everywhere. Like the whole ocean just reeks of gasoline. Okay, gasoline, right? Water is the gasoline. The hurricane, or we should say tropical storm, because they start out as like a tropical depression, into tropical storm, cyclone, and then hurricane. Typically, that's basically, I hope I got that order right. I know I definitely got I think I got the last two right. I think it's tropical storm, and then it ends in hurricane, starts in like a depression, when, you know, lows and high pressures and all that. But we don't need to get into all that stuff. We need to get into just basic stuff, because most of these people don't understand anyway. So, now, imagine that water being gasoline, and then a tropical storm. We'll use tropical storm as an example, being a match, okay? And then you light that match, and you're starting a baby hurricane. You know what a baby hurricane is? Tropical storm starting to strengthen very fast. You take that and then you throw that in the water. What does that do? Now it's exploding. You got this huge cyclone of like fire, basically. That's basically what a hurricane is. Now I'm using this terminology is because the farther it goes up the coast, the less gasoline you're having in the water. So the less gasoline, what happens when you have the least amount of gasoline? Your fire is going to start disintegrating into ashes, correct? In a typical, normal climate, weather, term, day, year, because this definitely has not been a normal year. Just in general, I guess, because it's always a risk, but in general, I mean, it goes up the coast, Florida, the Bahamas and all of Florida, that area always gets hit the hardest for hurricanes, no doubt. Category 5 hurricanes, you know, even ones are just so destructive. Like, hurricanes are just very destructive. They're not like tornadoes. Tornadoes are like hit or misses. Like, they pop up and they go away. They pop up and go away. And they don't usually typically appear on mountains, and there's other climate like areas it's a lot goes into tornadoes. And tornadoes aren't, I mean, they are destructive. They are, but you know, they're not a standstill, well, not standstill, but they're not a constant moving cyclone like a hurricane is, basically. So Florida gets hit the worst, and as it goes up the coast, it starts to disintegrate slowly. So by the time it gets to the Carolinas, typically, historically, it starts to disintegrate a lot. Because now we're getting into cooler waters. And like where we are, I live in New York. We typically don't have hurricanes, typically, but we do have, we have had them, and we do get them. And we, even the effects from like the outer part of the hurricane that we get are bad. Like, I can't even imagine people being in the eye. Like Long Island, like, I can't. I'm sorry for you guys. Like, but New York does not typically get hurricanes. Not that bad. What happens is it'll turn into like a tropical like depression by the time it gets to us, or a tropical storm, and then it'll just kind of just be like a lot of rain, maybe some thunder, lightning, and blah, it's over. It's typical summer day for us. This has been a very thundery summer, by the way, which is weird. However, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And I noticed that trend with this hurricane, like I noticed it with Irene back in 2011. True story, quick story. 2011, I got married. I didn't pay much. I mean, I did pay attention. I was seeing, like, you know, we always kind of pay attention to August and the weather trends out in the ocean, because we always know that this is a possibility. If there's a hurricane it's possible it can go inland and can come up to us. The thing about hurricanes is that once they start going more inland, they tend to lose their strength. That always isn't, I mean, okay, that is always the case, but it doesn't always not be a hurricane. It can still be a hurricane inland. Just, it won't be a hurricane as long, I guess I should say. And this is literally just facts that I know from people that I know a lot of meteorologists. I have a science degree, and I like meteorology. I wanted to be a meteorologist growing up, believe it or not. So typically we don't really, well, we do always keep an eye on it. And I think it was that year, 2011, August. I was supposed to get married in in the middle of August. And it was like a couple weeks before I started noticing that there was a hurricane starting to come off the coast. It was going to hit in Florida. And then I started noticing a pattern with this hurricane. This hurricane was a bit weird, and I think everybody could agree with me with Irene. It was really weird because I was actually able to predict the path of the hurricane, because I can read Dopplers, I can read the colors, I know what all the colors mean, I know how to read a Doppler. Most people, believe it or not, don't know how to read any of this stuff. I don't know what the colors mean. I have people asking me all the time. And I find that funny because that's not basic knowledge, but I guess it's not. I don't know, but so I'm able to kind of read Dopplers really well. And so I was kind of noticing that it was, the trend of it was going inland more and more, and it wasn't losing a lot of strength. And that's not typical for a hurricane. The hurricanes need ocean water, need salt water to thrive and to grow and to and gain strength and to stay alive. Okay, they need that. It's like their food. They need that. Without that, they lose it very, very fast. And like I said, typically by the time it gets to us, it's just a tropical storm, if anything. Sometimes it's nothing. Once it hits the Carolinas, it starts to disintegrate after that. This storm wasn't doing that. It was, I can't even remember exactly when I started noticing it kind of was like coming like this way. Like this is like Florida right here. Okay, this is Florida. Hi, Florida. Okay, and here's a hurricane. It goes over Florida like this, right? It rarely hits Georgia, because the way Georgia is shaped, it kind of just goes like this, and Georgia's like over here. So like it kind of like, Georgia gets lucky. I wish I lived in Georgia sometimes. Like, oh, that'd be nice, not to worry about hurricane. And then like, but you can't not ever count it out either. And then it kind of was going like this, and it wasn't going like, usually they go like, they kind of like, here's Florida, blah blah blah, up the coast. It'll go all the way up the line, the Carolinas, and then kind of go out to sea and just disappear. And it wasn't doing that. It was going the opposite way. Instead of going this way, it was going this way, and it wasn't losing the strength. So I'm like trying to tell everybody. At the time I was living with my in-laws, and my in-laws lived in Florida, so I'm dealing with a bunch of Southerners. And I'm like, guys, this doesn't look great. I think this is going to hit us. This might hit us. No, we're fine. And if it does, it'd be nothing. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it would be something, but I never actually experienced a hurricane, so I don't know. But if this hits us, this could be like kind of catastrophic for us, because we're not used to hurricanes here. And I'd never seen one in my lifetime before this. So I was like, all right. So kind of dismissing it hesitantly, but I was like, I kept watching every day. I'd be watching this online, I'd be watching the Weather Channel, I'd be watching the Doppler, and it kept going inland, but it was just strong. It was just, it did not lose the strength fast at all. And I kept telling everyone, sorry, I'm like, okay, it was really close to my wedding, and I knew it wasn't gonna hit the wedding, so I was like, all right, so we're gonna have the wedding, we're gonna go to Maine for the honeymoon. Now, if we go to Maine, that's smart, because we're going up north, so we're already missing the storm. We're ahead of the storm at this point. So I figured that'd be a safe place for us to go on our honeymoon. Our honeymoon was last minute planned, actually. We managed to pull that off. We managed to do all that, no problem. When I got back from Maine, I went back to looking at it. I said, all right, at this point, it's like 2 days away from New York. I'm like, guys, so it's still a hurricane, and it's really close to New York, and they're saying it's gonna hit us in like less than in like a day, in like 24 hours. Oh, we're gonna be fine. Oh, category 1? That's nothing. I'm like, what? What do you mean it's nothing? It's New York. We're not prepared for a freaking Category 1 hurricane. I'm like, I'm thinking like, oh my God, what is going to happen? I'm thinking this is just going to be like a tornado on steroids maybe. I don't know, right? Like I said, I've never really experienced a hurricane, but I know that they're destructive. They're terrible. But from what I'm being told from these Southerners, we're fine. Like, don't worry about it. I'm like, all right, well, okay, say we are fine, but anyways, we should probably prepare just in case. Like, let's make sure we have food, water, maybe see about getting a generator, or be prepared in case the electric does go out. You know, I was pregnant at the time, so that was one of my number one concerns. You know, there were other kids in the house. They weren't mine, but there were other kids in the house. We really needed to prepare for this hurricane. I kept getting dismissed. And I was just like, I'm not dismissing it in the back of my head, but it was nothing I could do. Well, I was staying with my in-law. I wasn't living, like, it wasn't my house. So, whatever they decide to do is on them. It's not my insurance, you know, whatever. So, I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, whatever. God, I can never forget the moment. They just kept saying, it's not going to be that bad. Oh, 60 mile per hour winds? That's not bad. I'm like, that's bad for us when it's constant. Like, yeah, we got 60 mile per hour winds. We don't get constant 60 mile per hour winds. Like, so I did turn around and I was like, well, how do you guys handle snowstorms in Florida? And they didn't have an answer. My husband was like, well, in North Carolina, because he lives in North Carolina can get snow. Well, when they get like 2 inches of snow, they like close everything down, he was telling me. I'm like, exactly. Think of your 2 inches of snow as our Category 1 hurricane. Let's just think of it that way, because you guys aren't prepared for that. Same thing. It's the same thing. So I'm seeing this historical thing happen in front of my eyes, and nobody's believing me. And no, I'm showing them, and they're not believing me, but they're like seeing it, but they're just like, it's nothing. I remember the night the storm decided to make its appearance. It came to us as a hurricane. And then it quickly, once it hit New York, it was a hurricane for a very, very short amount of time. It quickly dropped down to a tropical storm, but a very strong tropical storm. Like a tropical storm I've never seen in my life. Like a tropical storm I never want to see again. And I remember that night. Like, it happened overnight. It was happening overnight. I was laying in bed. We were staying up. It was like a finished attic where I had like 2 bedrooms up there. It was really nice. We were staying in one of the bedrooms. I'm laying there in bed with my husband at the time. At the time, like, he's my husband now, but like, we were just husband and we were like newlyweds. So in there, I'm like laying there. He's laying there. And I'm laying there. And I'm feeling the house just do this. Go back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, is this normal? He's like, uh-huh. He's like half asleep. I'm like, wake up. I don't... Are we gonna go away? Because it was, you literally felt the house moving. Like, I never felt that. All of a sudden, the storm was even on. The storm was even going for 10 minutes. And the electric goes out. I'm like, oh shit. I picked up my cell phone, and all I heard was downstairs was, there's a fire. I'm like, so I went to go dial 911, and I called in and said, I don't know, there's some sort of fire in my house outside. I look at the window. I go downstairs quickly. I look out. I open the door. I wasn't even off the phone with 911 yet. They're like, don't go outside. I don't listen to nobody. I opened that fucking door, and this wind nearly blew me over. We had probably about a good 4 inches of rain on the ground. Like, it was up to my ankles. And I'm like, whoa, I'm just coming at me. And at the time, cell phones weren't waterproof then. I threw my phone in the house because I didn't want it to get wet. It's like, this is all I got right now. And I was like, oh my God. I looked out, and all I saw was a telephone pole broke over into our yard, and there was wires sparking. Now, they're not catching fire because there's water everywhere, thank God. But 911, they didn't just get a call from me. Somebody else in the house also called. It was a really big house, and somebody else in the house called too. So they were already on their way. They came, and they had to shut the power off, obviously. We had no power. Oh my God. I was like, alright, it's going to last maybe a day or two. We'll probably have power back on, right? I just want to fast forward to the next day. Still no power. It's 90 fucking degrees outside. Our food is starting to go, like, the freezer is melting because nobody's listening to me to keep everything closed. Everybody's just opening things. We had no way of showering, no way of anything. I'm like freaking 4 months pregnant. I'm hot. I'm hungry. And so everybody's like, let's just cook all the food so it'll go bad. I'm like, food still goes bad when you cook it. Like, I don't understand what your guys' concept is here. You want to keep it cold. What you need to do is stop opening the freezer and just keep the freezer, like, tape the freezer shut. Do not even touch the freezer. If you want to get food, go in the refrigerator, or we're going to have to figure out going to, I don't even know where, because the whole town was out. Like, there was nothing. There was no electric, nothing, anywhere. Everybody was done. So I was like, all right, well, let's see what it looks like outside. We went outside. We walked around. It was flooded everywhere. When I'm talking flooded, I'm talking like up to my freaking knees flooded. There were trees down. There was wires down. There was poles down. There was nothing. Everything was destroyed. I couldn't even believe. Our house was so steady because it was stone. I was surprised about that. I mean, some people did lose their houses. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. We walked down the road. And I've been talking 20 minutes about this. Went on the road, and the one main drag street we have is called 209, and it connects all the towns in like the local area, like Accord, Cranston, Ellenville, even up to Kingston. It connects all our towns. Now, in our town, we have a creek called Round Dog Creek, plus a bunch of little tiny creeks everywhere else. All those creeks flooded out. The one creek that we had that ran by us was a little bigger ones, flooded the whole street out and cut Hoxton and Accord in complete half. That's that's our lifeline right there. Because, alright, we had the hospital side, they had the store side. So if the stores were to open back up and we were able to get access to food or something, or even to a cooling center, we had no way to get there, because they were all on that side. However, we could get to the hospital because Kingston was on our side. So we were able to go to Kingston. And plus Kingston did have stores too, but like everything was closed. So we couldn't do anything. We couldn't even go to our local gas stations, nothing. And we're just done. There's nothing. There was nothing. It was like an apocalypse, I swear to God. And we would literally watch people try to drive through this flooded area, this flood zone. And the flood zone was you could swim in it. Like, it was like a lake. Like, you could swim. Like, you literally, it was like higher than me. It was probably about 6 feet deep. Like, you could swim in it. Like, that's how deep it was. People just driving through it, and the fire department had to keep coming back out and getting people out of there. I'm like, Jesus, you people are so dumb. Like, you see it's deep. Like, I tried stopping people, yelling at stop, because it was like, we're at the end of my road. But, you know, whatever. After probably about 3 or 4 days of this freaking torture, we had our cell phones still, and we were charging them in our cars. So we were calling like the electric company, and they're like, we don't know. It could be months. It could be, we don't know when electricity, all these poles, and they had to replace all these poles everywhere. So basically, we called the fire department because we smelled gas in the basement. Also, on top of that, we didn't realize the basement was completely flooded. Me and my husband lost all our stuff, clothes, everything, gone, just gone. And basically all we had is what we had upstairs in the attic. Thank God we were in the attic, because we were like the highest level up. So we were able to save like the important things, like our computers and our TVs and like our clothes, like in our lives, obviously. But I put that on the bottom of the list like it's nothing. So yeah, what happened with that was fire department came in, and his uncle his uncle volunteers. I don't know if he was the chief at the time, but his uncle and his cousin both volunteered for the fire department. Actually did their wedding this past weekend. And they're like, you guys have to evacuate. Like, you guys, with me being pregnant, I could not be in an area where there was gasoline leaking. We had to leave. We were gonna shut off they shut off all the piping and everything, like all the gas, like they shut the gas off, so there was no more leaking. But the smell of it was so strong, I had to leave. It was mandatory for me to evacuate, being pregnant. So me and my husband were like, all right, well, we gotta go. So I got my son was with me. Me, my son, and my husband were like, all right. So we called around, and the Red Cross actually set us up. They said we have an emergency shelter set up in Kingston in one of the abandoned hospitals. Not abandoned. It was like a part of the hospital they weren't using. And once you come down and you can stay here. I was so happy to get there. We were able to get there through an alternate path. They told us how to get there without having to hit any flood zones. And there were a lot of damage on the way. We got there, and we had to stay in a hurricane shelter for 2 fucking weeks. And after those 2 weeks, with 100 people, you're in like a gymnasium, basically, with 100 other people sleeping on cots. 4 months pregnant. I made a lot of friends, but I was not very comfortable. We did get some free food, and we were treated great by the Red Cross, which is why I volunteer for them now. And I actually haven't recently because of my condition, but I am an active volunteer. So yeah, they did help us out. And they made sure everybody had housing before we all had to leave, because they only could hold us for like a certain amount of time. It was like 2 weeks. So after the 2 weeks was up, we all had to go find a housing. If we couldn't find housing, they put you up in a hotel. Social services would then put you up in the hotel, and they would provide you food. Granted, we had no money, we had nothing, you know, so they provided some food. And they're like, well, you guys, you have to leave the hotel. We're at the hotel for another 2 weeks. So this is like a month now into this disaster. And finally, my dad was like, yeah, come stay with me. So we had to go all the way back up north with my dad. My parents live up in the Catskills, so they didn't get hit as bad as we did, because we live more closer to the ocean. So, yeah. That's how that story ended. I ended up just moving with my dad, and then blah, blah, blah. We started our lives over. Okay. That was 9 years ago. We're getting another hurricane. Same scenario. And I called it the same exact way I called that one. I watched it up. You know, and ever since Irene, obviously, I paid a very close more attention to the hurricanes in this time of year than before. So, yeah, I was watching the Doppler for a while, and I was seeing, like, I don't know. Again, this trend is not going out to ocean. It's going inland. This hurricane, Isaias, is that what they're calling it? I can't even pronounce the freaking... They're running out of names for hurricanes. Stop naming hurricanes and snowstorms. You're running out of names. Just call it Hurricane 2000... I don't know. You can't even call it by year, because you get so many a year. I don't even know. Just call it Hurricane. I don't freaking know. But it is easier to identify them that way, because when you talk about them in the past, you'd be like, oh, hurricane this, hurricane that, you know. So, Isaias, I guess that's what they're calling it. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm sorry. Right now, it hit Florida last night. It's going up into the Carolinas later on tonight. Then I predicted the timing right too. Last week I was looking at it. I said, okay, it's gonna hit Florida. They said it's gonna hit Florida like on Monday, or like Sunday into Monday, and then it's supposed to hit the Carolinas Monday into Tuesday. So that means it should be here between Tuesday and Wednesday. I would say Thursday the latest, but definitely Tuesday and Wednesday. That's exact timing they are predicting. It's like Tuesday into Wednesday. They don't know when on Tuesday. Like tomorrow, we're supposed to get it somewhere between like in the morning or at night. They don't even know. It's just Tuesday. Basically, call your plans off, because you don't know when the hurricane's coming. But you'll know when it's coming. But you, trust me, you'll know. But they don't know what time, the actual timing. So it's approximate. Right now, like I said, it's going to be hitting the Carolinas. You guys have my prayers. I hope you guys are all safe, and I know you guys are really good at preparing yourself for these things, but I know how destructive they can be. This hurricane is weird. This hurricane started off as a depression, and then it went to Florida as a tropical... Was it a tropical depression when it hit Florida? So I feel like it was like a tropical depression longer than normal. Then it turned into like a hurricane. And then it like kind of started to lose its strength like after Florida. And then they said between like Florida and like that and like the Carolinas, that small little spot, like right where Georgia is, and Georgia's just not even really get hit at all. That little spot right there is going to energize it, they think, and it's going to bring it, strengthen it up. They're not 100% sure. It could lose strength, we don't know, but that little bit of water is going to strengthen it up, and it's going to go right inland. It's literally, this is what it looks like. I'm going to use this as, pretend this is the map of the United States, okay? Alright, so from your direction, I'm going to show you. This is New York. This is Florida. See? Alright, well, no, this would be like Maine. New York is like right here. And then it was like Florida down here. Okay. It went like this. It went up to Florida. Now, it's a big hurricane, so it's covering all of Florida. Like, in front, it's still on the actual Atlantic Ocean, but it's covering all of Florida because it's a wide hurricane. So it's going all the way to the Gulf, basically to the Gulf of Mexico. All right, so it went like this, and it just kept going straight like that. It's not going back into the ocean. After it hits that little part, there's no, it's gonna ride the ocean like it normally does, but the hurricane is big, it's wide. So it's like, I don't know if I want to call it like a really big, like just like, cause like catastrophically big, but it's like wide hurricane. So it's taking up more space. So what's happening is, it's taking up more inland than normal, and it's kind of making like this turn, like it's going more inland, but it's still riding enough on the ocean to keep the strength up, just enough. It turns into a tropical storm right as it starts to hit New York again, like Irene. Same thing. It's like a drop of a dime turns right when it hits New York. It just starts to slow like the strength down. However, the problem is not the strength as much as it's something we're not used to again. Now, I'm hoping, and from my dear friend firefighters that I know, we have learned a lot from Hurricane Irene. I'm hoping we have. I know I have. I'm going to start preparing today. I'm going to start doing some laundry, start getting everything ready and set, just in case. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but just in case, we'll be ready. And we'll start preparing for hurricane. I guess we're going to say, to be safe. But it's going to be a very strong tropical storm again. Now, it's actually weird because last week when I looked at the Doppler, we were in the red. Okay, we were like literally. Let's use this again. This is just New York now. All right, let's see me New York. Okay, I live like, say this is like, I don't know, like Jersey and stuff. It's like right here, right? I live like a little inward. Like I live like right here. I'm like not Western New York, but I'm like not Central. I'm like Eastern New York, but I'm like borderline like Eastern New York. I'm on the like east side of the Hudson River. I'm on the just right on the west side, just right over it. So I'm more on towards on the west side of the Hudson. So that gives me an advantage. So I'm not close. All right, I'm back again. Okay, so now instead of it being over us as a borderline, Albany's more north, way more north than us. It's now Albany is borderline. So it has clearly gotten bigger, and I feel like, okay, this is not good. This is bad. That means it has strengthened. It has grown. It is growing. They're predicting. This was a predicament because they had us in the red for a while. Doesn't mean we were getting a hurricane in that day. That means that's the track. They were tracking it. And it's showing you you're in a hurricane zone or the tropical storm zone. You might be, you might start worrying or something. I don't know. But anyways, so now it's covering most of New York. Like, except for the west part, like most of like the eastern part of New York, all the way up to Maine. Now, you never see a hurricane go to Maine. Once it hits New York, it is predicted to drop down to a tropical storm. Predicted. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It may not happen. Then, after that, we should be good. It should just be tropical storms for everybody else up north. But for us, we have to we're kind of like, we don't know what to do. So what I'm hoping to do right now is that New York is prepared. Okay, I hope you guys, us as a state, is prepared for emergency things. I the volunteer for the Red Cross. I have not gotten any text messages about getting ready to run a hurricane shelter as of yet. But if I do get a message, I will send that out to everybody I know, to let them know that, hey, the Red Cross is preparing, just so you guys know, we are on it. But so far I had not received anything from them. Yeah, so usually I run shelters as well as disaster services, like fires and stuff. So there was definitely a significant change. They're seeing now that there might be a little bit of a high pressure, and that high pressure will basically, high pressure is good, low pressure is bad. Always gotta remember, high pressure good, low pressure bad. High pressure means that it will knock the storm down a little bit, the strength down, and they're predicting it will happen that way. This is all predictive, and none of it's set in stone. We won't know till it hits us. That's the problem. So we need to be prepared ahead of time. So here we are in New York. Here I am again with the same scenario as 9 years ago. I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to be better prepared. I'm going to have my kids are going to be prepared, and I'm going to have a place to go in case I live in a trailer. So hurricane is not going to, my trailer's not going to sustain a hurricane. I mean, I have insurance, so like, okay, you can blow it away. I suppose I can get my money, my 10 grand or whatever, 20 grand. I think it's actually like 50 grand insurance. I don't know, but it's a lot. You can take it, I can take the money, whatever. But I'd rather not have to worry about that. And my car, it's not running that great. I really don't want to have to take it out in a hurricane and my kids. I'd rather not do all that. So let's like just be prepared and have a backup plan, and then a backup plan after that. So yeah. Again, this is hurricane is supposed to be hitting us tomorrow. We're going to see what happens. I would like to come back and update you guys tomorrow. To see where we are weather-wise. Right now it's sunny out, but tomorrow could be a whole different story, and the weather's going to start deteriorating really, really fast. So yeah, definitely expect that to happen. But yeah, if I hear anything from the Red Cross, for sure, everybody, my friends are all definitely going to know ahead of time. And in the meantime, everybody else, stay safe, stay calm, and just relax. I am going to post this up and then hopefully have an update tomorrow and see where we are in the weather department. Bye, guys.